And this is one of our executive council members, been a part of this business for 21 years. So I'll let him share his story. But a lot of you see Patrick today, and you see this guy who maybe appear to you as he's a sophisticated financial advisor. He's got all this money under management. He's got all this knowledge. But I remember Patrick when he came into the business was very similar to me. Didn't have a clue about this industry, but just had a big dream, wanted to do something big, and to watch him commit to his dream and his goals. And guy's got a great work ethic, and now you see the fruits of his labor. And so he's going to share tonight his journey, as well as whatever he wants to share, any wisdom with you that you can apply in your business. But it's one of the best leaders we've got here within our team. So Patrick, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Let me try to share my screen here. Can you let me share my screen?
Yep. I should be able to. Oh, sorry. Hold on. I know what to do. 1 second. Where'd you go? Figure it out. Want to go ahead and get started while I try to figure this out here? Hold on.
Yeah, great training, like Crump here. Thanks so much for sharing, Eric. And that's a great index product. It's not too often you find one with, and I don't know if there is one that has increase in income during accumulation, which is huge. So thanks for sharing with that, and thanks for everyone being on the call tonight. I know it's been crazy times working from home, being home, and just spending time with family, hopefully. And this is you could look at this time as an opportunity, right? Or you could look at it as a crisis. I put some on the thread the other day. It was a quote by Winston Churchill that I don't remember exactly how it went, but it was something like, you got to look for opportunity within crisis. And so I think it's a great time to can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry about that, Pat. I didn't need to put you as panelist. You're good now. You can share and do whatever you need to do.
Okay. I don't know how much anybody heard of that.
We missed 2 seconds of it. We heard all of it.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just going to say, this is a time where you can totally get organized with your business. And, everyone's in the same boat. There isn't like all of us are in the field and you're at home or vice versa. This is a time for you to just kind of zone in on your goals and get organized with your business. So that's going to be a little bit what I'm going to talk about tonight, with just some of the tools that I use to help me in the business. But anything you really wanted me to share my story with you, because many of you don't really know me and my background with the business. And so I figured I'd show you some photos here. Can you see this, Anthony?
Yes, we can see your screen. No problem.
Okay. So
You're here.
I'm the youngest of 6 kids. These are my sisters and my brother. I really have 5 moms. And this is my oldest sister. She's basically the same age as my in-laws. And then my brother, of course, he's 11 years older than me, and him and I were really good friends. But, when I first got into business, they were my biggest critics, always wondering what I was doing and if I was doing the right thing. And I'm sure many of you have gone through that, getting started in the business, people having talks with you, if this is something you should really be doing, is this your background, how do you know you're going to be good at it, etc. I had all of those, and including my friends. They had interventions with me, and all talking the same stuff I'm sure a lot of your friends and family talk to you about. But now they're all my client, and so that's great. It's come a long way, but if you stick with the business long enough, eventually that happens. So so I just wanted to take you back. I grew up out in St. Charles, Illinois, Geneva. And went to a military school out in Aurora. Here I am, military ball night with my date. And I think that was the reason I wanted to show you this is because I think this is where I started developing some discipline. It was a school with, I started with 140 kids. It was all boys. And we ended up graduating with 72. And the main reason why I got down to that number is because half of them were asked not to come back the following years. And it was kids from all over the world went to this school. And we had military instructors, and we had drill every morning from 7:45 to 8:30. Where we got inspected. We had to know all our information, chain of command. Everything had to be shined. We had to know all our information. Seniors were my platoon sergeants and platoon leaders. But you know what? We learned a system at that time, all my friends. And if you didn't conform to the system, you were out. And so, but it taught us also a lot of discipline at a young age. And I think that really helped. After high school, because it was an international school, a lot of my friends were from Mexico, and I spent a lot of time down in Mexico in the summer months. And so they said, hey, why don't you go move to Spain and live there and go to college? So I went to see my first year, and then I went away to Spain. And here we are with my Spanish buddies at a feria in April in Sevilla, Spain. And so I spent some time there, and that was just a really good time. And so I moved back to the U.S. I think, what year was that? 1999. And my brother's good friend, here his name's Jim Schumann. He was in the Peace Corps for several years, and he had just gotten out of the Peace Corps. And he had asked me if I wanted to work with him in an asphalt business that he had. And this was a business passed on. Oh, I didn't put that picture in there, darn it. It was a business passed down from one college student to the next. And right before I got it, his sister was doing it. But he had trained me, and so he was my trainer here. And here he was making phone calls to customers. And then this one is me making phone calls. So maybe this is you at home right now making phone calls to prospects and clients. But, that was my first phone zone, was in the early day there, calling customers and calling people to see if I could seal coat their driveways or their parking lot. So right before I started the business, I was doing this. And so it was, it was some good training. I would work that business from like 5 in the morning till about 3 in the afternoon. And I was living on the north side of Chicago. And so I would drive all the way to St. Charles. It took me an hour, and then I work all day, drive back to the city, and shower and change, and then drive to Oak Brook and try to learn the business from 4:30 till 9 o'clock at night. And I would do that 4 or 5 times a week, and then of course on Saturdays. And I'll tell you, it was hard to get to the meeting on Saturday because I had to drive on Lakeshore Drive, and of course what's on your left-hand side is the beach, right? And so it took a lot of discipline to go to the meetings back then, but I persevered. Oh, here I am in my seal coating truck. And as you can see, it was a really fancy business. But this helped me get through school too. I never ended up finishing, but this paid for a lot of my education. And it was a fun business during that time. But I would work this business from, from about late April, early May until October, and then I would focus on WFG. And then one year I just said, forget it. I'm just going to hang up this business and focus on the business full time. And sometimes, you just got to break that bridge and say, I'm going to jump into it. And I'm so glad I did. It worked out. And so this was one of my first conventions with one of the founders, Gilbert Humphrey. And sorry here, I don't know. Let's see. Sorry. Yeah, so this was one of my first conventions. You could see I had some hair back then. Not the case anymore. And then this was a meeting we had, the first few teammates I had in the business. And then this was a Las Vegas convention. We got some familiar faces there with Anthony. Look at Anthony. I don't think you've changed at all. But so it was, interesting beginning. And a lot of you have maybe somewhat of a similar story, but I just want to let you know I didn't come from the industry. I didn't have any background. I went to school for international business and Spanish, and most of that was partying than anything. But I really came into the business with no experience. I just had some experience working and some discipline in my life, and I think really that's all the business really is it just requires some discipline and some hard work, and everything else really kind of falls into play, and so but it was challenging in the earlier years back in 99. If you remember, it was the .bomb era, and I remember when we first got started back then, you had to get all your licenses, and so that was your life and health in your 6 and 63 before you made any money. So it was about a year, I think it was a year and 3 months before I had my first paycheck. I remember failing my Series 6 twice, and I failed my Series 63 twice. And if you fail 3 times, you got to wait 6 months. So I didn't want that to happen. So I finally woke up and passed those. But it was me coming to meetings every week, not making any money, trying to build a team, and eventually got the license. And we did a lot of VUL back then. And then 2000 hit and the market crashed, and I remember it was hard to go to family parties because everybody owned a VUL, and their values were down. But it came back, and then I started really getting into selling a lot of mutual funds. And I'll tell you, you don't make really any money selling a $50 a month mutual fund. But anybody I could get in front of, that's who I sold. That's what I sold, is a $25, $50 mutual fund. It cost me more in tolls and to process the paperwork than what I made on it. But what happened is by doing that over the years, I was able to build a pretty big network of clients. And so I didn't really focus on the short-term money. I just focused on building my network as big as I could. And, I got made fun of quite a bit for doing that, wondering, hey, why the heck are you running around town like crazy, just selling these mutual funds? And I said, well, one day they're going to have money. And I was young. And so I figured if I built the muscle early on doing this, by the time I met with somebody that had some money, it was the same conversation. It was just a bigger check they had to write. And eventually that's what happened. And so just by building that muscle early on, really kind of set the stage for where I'm at today with the assets I have under management. And it was just building those relationships and servicing them over the long haul that's really paid off. And so, sometimes we get into the business and you see someone on stage or you get on a call and they talk about how much money they make. And you're like, man, I want to make that. But sometimes you don't hear about all the years they didn't make any money and all the years they had to put time into the business, just building it up, right? So I just thought it would be kind of fun to share some photos. I know people sometimes like that, so I thought I'd share that.